what Quinnipiac has helped us learn about how the public feels. With Quinnipiac University's national sports poll that is out, and specifically we're talking about the NFL. What does it say for democratic process in this country? I've got some answers. Quinnipiac University's national sports poll that is out, and specifically we're talking about the NFL, taking the pulse of the American public on a variety of issues regarding the National Football League, has Quinnipiac, and I've got some answers. And so with that being said, I'm going to welcome to the program now Ricky Cobb Show senior Quinnipiac sports poll analyst. I speak, of course, of the international streaming star. Joining me from Nashville, Tennessee is Ronnie T-Shirts. So, Ronnie, I'm getting you in the sidecar early here today because I'm going to take you through this list of burning NFL questions, and I'm going to reveal to you what Quinnipiac has helped us learn about how the public feels about them, Ron. And so we will begin with one that I think is just a smashingly good idea, Ron, and that is giving Americans a national holiday the Monday after the Super Bowl. I think that this is a fantastic idea. The Super Bowl has become such a part of American culture, and so this was a question among the ones that we're going to look at here today, and here are the results. 56% of Americans are in favor of a national holiday the Monday after the Super Bowl. 26% of Americans oppose this. And 18% didn't have an opinion. Ron, what does it say for democratic process in this country? What does it say for the very difficult decisions that Americans are asked to face at the ballot box when they go vote in their state and national and even local elections, that 44% of people either don't want the day off after the Super Bowl or don't have an opinion?
Even if you don't like football, wouldn't you just be stoked to not have to go to work the next day?
I'm saying, I would take... You can ask me, do you want to have a day off after? I mean, it can be anything.
Yeah. For any reason.
Anything.
For any reason.
For any reason.
Yeah.
It's like, are these the people that see $100 bill lying on the sidewalk?
Not for me. That's not for me.
26% of Americans don't want the $100 bill, and another 18% don't have an opinion on the $100 bill. All right, now, as has been floated out there before, we've heard talk of make the Super Bowl the Sunday before President's Day. And so then you can already take an existing holiday, the season. Another thing we're going to talk about is the potential lengthening of the season in a moment. When specifically asked, should we move the Super Bowl to the Sunday immediately preceding President's Day, the support went up from 56% to 64%. Okay. But still with 18% against this and 18% who were just like, I don't have an opinion.
They're like, you don't understand. That is a sacred weekend for me. It's when starting Friday after work, I get all my presidential figurines out and I think about what they've all done for our country. And then Saturday, we have a different dish from the different states that they are all from. Like, it's a big weekend for me.
Yeah. We chopped down a cherry tree on Sunday.
Yeah.
We can't interfere with this
Sacred.
With an NFL. All right, Ron. So now, we all know that the NFL season is going to eventually become 18 games. We've been on this weird 17 number. We're going to go USFL style. Remember, they had 18-game seasons. The NFL has been on this odd number. You don't even have an equal number of home and road games. I don't like it. Nobody can have the Jason Garrett 500 season anymore unless there's a tie in there. The Cowboys have a chance, I guess. Yeah. NFL fans, on the topic of adding a regular season game, 60-21, they're in favor of it. With another 18% who don't have an opinion. Look, I don't know who these motherfuckers are who don't have an opinion, but they enrage me. 18% of people are just like, I don't know.
Did they ask football fans or did they ask general public?
Well, I think they asked the general public.
Well, because I can see why general public would say, general public would be.
Yeah, but you'd still want a day off, right? That's not
no, that part of it, yeah, but I'm talking about having an opinion on an 18-game season. Like, if you don't like football, why do you care? So.
All right, now here's one for you, Ron. This is one we've talked about on the show. We've seen a lot of controversy about this circulating on social media. The NFL's choice to have the Puerto Rican superstar, Bad Bunny, as the halftime entertainment at Super Bowl 60. We know it's been a bit of a lightning rod, a lot of criticism that we've seen of this, but nearly half of Americans, 48% of respondents, approve of the NFL's decision to have Bad Bunny perform, while 29% disapprove and 24% don't have an opinion. That adds up to 101, but we're rounding here, so forgive us. But that is the official numbers that we've been given. So it seems that the average American is more or less okay with Bad Bunny. Your thoughts?
I mean, I don't really care because I'm a football fan and literally don't care. If it happens to be a band or a performer that I enjoy, then I just look at it as a bonus. But I do not give a flying rat's ass if it's Bad Bunny, or there have been many performers that I do not necessarily like. And so check this out. When they're on, I either don't pay attention or I go do something else. It's super easy. So I just don't care. If the NFL thinks it's in their best interest to do it, it's their business. They get to do whatever they want. I personally do not care because I like football. I'm a man. I'm 59.
Ron, it is, as you would expect, it is breaking down across political lines here. 74% of Democrats approve, 52% of independents approve, but only 16% of Republicans are on board with this. How is it? It's just... Look,
listen,
I think being
the same way
by this is silly.
Yeah.
Personally.
Listen, the Republicans,
if it's not for you, watch something else.
Yeah, the Republicans that are saying, no, I'm against this. They're as big a dumbasses as the Democrats who are probably saying, I don't want to have a national holiday the next day, because it's probably Democrats. I mean, listen, football kind of skews right. It really, it does. I think everybody's just dumb. I think that's really what I've come to is everybody's just dumb.
14 months into doing this show,
finally
and
commenting
on
the
news and our culture. I think we can conclude everything is just dumb. Now, here's one for you, Ron. 42% of Americans think that the NFL is doing the right amount to help with player safety and injuries. 30% think the NFL is still doing too little. And here's my favorite part. These are my favorite people who voted in this whole thing. 4% think the NFL is doing too much to help avoid serious injuries.
You, because you're mad at that Guardian cap.
Apparently.
That's you.
Yeah. They reached my house and Jack Lambert's house, where we voted everybody needs to stop being pussies. What's wrong with a little CTE? But anyway, 42% think the NFL's doing all right there. And the dynamic kickoff is maybe more popular than you might imagine. 42% prefer the dynamic kickoff. 37% prefer the previous kickoff rule, which I assume is the actual just normal kickoffs.
Sure. Yeah, that we've had our whole
mostly
lives.
touchbacks.
Yeah.
And then 19% not offering an opinion. Producer Tim in my ear saying Bad Bunny's not family friendly, but you know, who is among a lot of the Super Bowl halftime entertainment that we've seen in recent years?
When Shakira and Jennifer Lopez were on, I mean, that's not necessarily family friendly the way they were dressed. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Janet Jackson's titty popped out 20 years ago. Remember
that? It didn't pop
that?
out. It didn't pop out. It happened on purpose. It wasn't a pop out. Pop out.
It was ripped out by Justin Timberlake.
There you go.
Justin Timberlake said, hey, seventh graders everywhere, you want to see a titty? And then he just reached in there, say bye to something. I don't know. All right, Ron, we're going to switch gears here. Brian Kelly is out as LSU's head football coach. He becomes the latest guy who is going to get paid a ton of money to not coach. And, well, you know what? We're going to go back to the best thing / worst thing that he ever did while he was at LSU. I speak, of course, of this dance routine that probably should have said no to. Let's take a look here, Ron. Remember this? Going back to 2021 here.
Man. You imagine Woody Hayes or Bo Schembechler doing that? Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Joe Paterno. I mean, come on.
It's like Dad has had a few too many, and the wedding reception is maybe time to just go ahead and go home.
You think Brian Kelly lost his job. Do you think he also lost that fake Cajun accent that he tried when he got introduced at the basketball game?
Yeah.
Yeah,
when they fired him, he said, hooey, hooey, boy.
Put some onions in there.
Let me tell you. Oh, them onions.
Who was that?
We
Justin
losing
Smith?
every game. Woo.
Who was that?
Justin
was that guy?
Wilson.
Justin Wilson. Put some onions in there. We'll mix it all.
Cajun.
Man, I got mixed feelings about this whole Brian Kelly thing. Mixed feelings about it because I think he's probably one of the biggest dicks in college football. I mean, he basically just stood there and did nothing when a kid died when he was at Notre Dame, when he put him up in the lift.
Dude, listen, thank you for saying it, because every time, I'm not going to lie to you, every time that I hear Brian Kelly's name, I think about that poor kid.
Unbelievable, dude.
From Notre Dame.
Yep.
I think about that kid, man,
mm-hmm.
because he tweeted from up there. I mean,
Yep.
he knew that it was a perilous situation, but he's a young kid.
Don't want to rock the boat.
He was afraid to stick up for himself.
Yep.
Didn't want to rock the boat. Had a gig. Was probably trying to,
parlay
slowly
that into something
get a
bigger.
toehold into something else. And just for me, man, I think about it every time. Is all I'll say.
Absolutely. So when I say I have mixed feelings, Ricky, is I think it's hilarious that this asshat lost his job. He's being told you're not good enough, but I hate the fact that he can literally do nothing and he's getting what was payout $53 million. Like it's more than
$53 million.
Yeah.
He
so
heads the
I
list.
have mixed feelings about this,
the
right?
List of buyouts.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. I think it's funny that he's, and then the other funny part about it is, he left Notre Dame because he's like, you can't win a national championship at Notre Dame, and I need to go someplace where you can. Well, Marcus Freeman went up there and played in the championship game, his second year? So, it makes me happy that he's getting exposed for the asshat that he is, but I hate that he's getting all the money.
Well, as I said, $53 million. That puts him ahead of James Franklin in the Ricky Cobb Show buyout power rankings. Here you can see, courtesy of Front Office Sports, tweeting this out here. teams on the hook now for nearly $170 million in buyouts so far just this season. Take a look at that. Kelly just ahead of Franklin. Billy Napier's getting $21 million. Gundy's getting $15 million. Sam Pittman at Arkansas, almost $10 million. Deshaun Foster on down the line. Trent Dilfer, $2.4 million buyout at UAB. If you ever take a piss next to him, again, Ron, ask him how that feels. But there you go, and it's crazy to think that somebody thinks that you're so fucking bad at your job that they're willing to pay you $50 million to sit at home. Think about that as well. It's college sports, amateur sport, anybody who's against the players getting paid. That list alone is reason why, as crazy as things have gotten, as much reform as there still needs to be to some of the Wild West that's happening in the NIL era, the idea that players shouldn't be paid, get the fuck out of here with that. Of course they should be paid. They're still underpaid relative to what these coaches are making. This episode of the Ricky Cobb Show is brought to you, friends, by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So head on over to Prize Picks right now. Don't miss any of the excitement this season. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Prize Picks, fun and simple to play, and I'm going to recommend the max discounts, as I always do. I get up on my little soapbox when I do these reads, and I say, look for the max discounts. Take advantage of those because they make winning that much easier. And best of all, my friends, when you use my code Ricky, you're going to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. It's as simple as that. Just use my code Ricky, put in a $5 lineup, and then you're going to get $50 in lineups on the house, because at Prize Picks, people get paid, and it's good to be right. So there you have it. Ronnie T-shirts, you are often right. You're humble about your gambling. Look, I gambled some this weekend. I went 1-7 on NFL games. I'm glad that wasn't a part of the contest that we're having this year, or else I would have dug a hole for myself against you that I'm never going to get out of. Maybe gambling and I, sometimes it doesn't go so well, although I will say I'm having more success with Prize Picks than anywhere else. So maybe there's
love those
something
kickers.
that you could read into that. I do love those kickers. Well, you get so many options with Prize Picks, quite honestly. Ronnie, the NBA betting scandal here, it's crazy, the scope of it, the magnitude of it. And I think that it's almost making the Pete Rose debate that we've had for the last going on 40 years start to look quaint at this point. As I tweeted here, this NBA scandal makes Pete Rose look like he was going 68 and a 65. I think the entire way that future generations are going to look at the Pete Rose scandal is going to be seen through a very different lens than the American public has viewed it over the course of the last 35 plus years. Because, my God, things can always be worse. And in the future, right now where we're at, things certainly considerably worse than they were in Major League Baseball back in those days. Some people were getting a little hungry when they were watching Game 1 of the World Series on Friday night, because have a look at this motherfucker right here. Who do we spy with primo seats behind home plate but the Colonel? There he is. Look at that. Always good to see a fellow Colonel out.
Yeah.
And that's George St. Pierre behind him. One of the, I suppose, Mount Rushmore figures in the history of mixed martial arts, Ron. UFC, great UFC champion there right behind him. Could put him in a chokehold at any moment. But there you go. I suppose that's viral advertising on the part of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Honestly,
either that
that's really
or there's
smart.
some individual in Toronto who's a great man, but I have to.
But it's really smart. Pay whatever you got to pay for that seat, and you get this kind of pub. Like, it's pretty smart.
Dude, could they ban it? Like, could McDonald's just like put somebody in a Ronald McDonald costume behind home plate at every major event? They can afford to do it, certainly.
Sure. Why not? I mean,
for real.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of like television time that you get if you're in the first or second row behind home plate, it's probably a really just stick Grimace. Well, you probably couldn't get Grimace in there.
No.
He'd be creating a hazard. But Ronald McDonald, you could do that.
I mean, really, any company's character, right? You could. There's, yeah. I mean, just genius. You know, props to KFC for this.
You know, the great grandnephew of Harlan Sanders is not going to like that.
Because he sexualized that guy. He sexualized this guy. Look at him.
They sexualized him.
How sexy that guy is.
They sexualized him. I mean, you know, they did. And he's not happy. He's not happy about it. He's giving away the 11 herbs and spices. 2 World Series games in the books, but as you know, this time of the year, our mind is on the NFL. And only one game remains in Week 8 of the NFL season. It happens tonight at Arrowhead Stadium. And who better to help me break down all of the action that went down this weekend than Solomon Wilcots, who I sat down with earlier this afternoon. My guest today is a 6-year veteran in the NFL, and he is the host of the Believe in Bengals podcast, as well as the opening drive on Sirius XM NFL Radio. Always a pleasure to welcome to the program the great Solomon Wilcots. Solomon, how are you?
Ricky, yeah, I'm doing great. Good to be back on with you. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to have you on. I wish that we had better Cincinnati Bengals news. I always feel like I need to start with the Bengals with you. The good news is Joe Flacco has that offense moving. The bad news, of course, is on the other side of the football. 39-38, Aaron Glenn and the New York Jets finally get one on the board here in this 2025 season. What is the current status report of the Cincinnati Bengals?
Well, I think I hate to say this. It's sort of the same as it has been at least over the last year or two. Remember, this is now the 5th time the Cincinnati Bengals have lost the game since the start of the 2024 season, where they've scored over 30 points themselves on offense, but yet still could not close out and win the game. And the same was true against a New York Jets team that was anemic on offense, that was anemic when it came to the quarterback producing big-time plays in the passing game, in so much that their owner, Woody Johnson, ripped their quarterback, Justin Fields, and maybe that was the wake-up call he needed, because not only did they have over 500 yards total offense against the Bengals on Sunday, they had over 300 yards total offense in the second half and outscored the Cincinnati Bengals 23-7 in the fourth quarter.
I wouldn't have thought that it was possible. It's like, you know, you've heard of the irresistible force and the immovable object. I would have thought that New York Jets offense wasn't capable of such things, right. But they met the Cincinnati Bengals defense, and I guess they were more capable than I realized. Solomon, you look at Justin Fields. Mm-hmm. Everything that he's gone through, it seems like he's already lived about 3 careers, and he's only been in the league for a few years here. What kind of a future do you think he has at this point? Because this is a little bit of a resurrection, maybe. Could it be a tipping point that kind of turns Justin Fields' trajectory around in New York? Or do you think that this is just a blip on the radar?
You know, and I think that's a great question. I do think it's very difficult to tell, simply because was it the Bengals defense and how bad they were? They didn't tackle well. They gave up 254 rushing yards to Brees Hall and whomever else decided they were going to run the ball for the Jets. However, I thought Fields was really good when they tried to blitz him. I thought he found his open receiver. I thought he was seeing the field better than he has all season long. The 39 points are a season high. The 500 yards total offense is a season high. He was good in so many ways. For instance, he now has more pass attempts without throwing an interception, 167 pass attempts without throwing an interception. That tells you he's doing something better than he ever has. He's protecting the ball. I do believe he was playing ultra conservative during the first early part of the season. One might say that he had his best game of the year, that week 1 game against Pittsburgh, against his former team. And now he has a game that's similar to that against the Cincinnati Bengals. So, Ricky, he's capable of playing at a high level. We're just not, we just see these ups and downs, and we don't see as many of these prolific offensive games as we are seeing the ones where he's throwing for net 15 yards after taking a few sacks. By the time it's over, it only nets to some minuscule number in the passing yards category. That it's very alarming when you start to see those numbers next to an NFL quarterback. So I would just say it's too early to tell because these swings are so drastic between when he's playing really well and when he's not playing well.
Solomon, maybe the Jets had some extra help on Sunday. Nick Mangold, you tweeted about this.
Yeah.
What a terrible tragedy. The All-Pro center from the New York Jets. Obviously, I think a 7-time Pro Bowl selection as well. I realize now at the age that I am just how young 41 years of age is. Your thoughts on this terrible tragedy, Solomon?
Yeah, when you got to understand, when I heard the news yesterday morning, it hit me pretty hard, right? And he's a young man that I got to know after he was leaving Ohio State, coming into the NFL. I went out to his home to interview his sister, to be honest with you, because she was a high school wrestler. and I went and I met his family, and I spent a lot of time with his dad, who's a great man. He's from a wonderful family in Centerville, Ohio, not too far from where I live. And I drove out there to meet his sister, to meet his family, and meet his dad. Then later, when I covered him in training camp, I got to know him and talk with him. Every time I'd see him, we have a conversation. And this is a young man that played local high school football in the area, went to a phenomenal high school where he turned him into a winner. Then he goes to Ohio State. He does the same thing and become a first-round pick after winning a national championship there, right? And then he was an All-American there. And then he goes to the Jets. And if you think about the Jets over the last 20 years, when he and DeBrickashaw Ferguson were part of that offensive line, those were some of the most prosperous times in Jets history, at least recent history. That's how good of a person he was. That's how good of a player he was. He was a phenomenal young man who was diagnosed with kidney disease, and then to be gone so quickly, I wasn't ready for it. It hit a lot of us very deeply, and it wounded us because he was a phenomenal young man, and he's such a good man, and he's gone way too soon, Ricky. Way too soon.
Yeah, well said. I feel for his family. Our thoughts and prayers certainly go out to them. Solomon, let's turn our attention to the other New York football team, the Giants, who looked like they had caught lightning in a bottle there for a few weeks with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo and just this swagger that these two kids. It's almost like, you had these guys who were so confident. It's like they didn't know that they were supposed to be intimidated by the National Football League. And it's like the entire team was feeding off of that. Of course, the historic comeback that the Broncos made on them with 33 points in the fourth quarter to come back and defeat them. And then worse news this week, horrific injury to Cam Scatterbo on a hip drop tackle. Solomon, can you take us through a little bit for the casual viewer on what the hip drop tackle is and why the NFL has moved to ban it and what makes it so dangerous?
Yeah, and remember, I'm going to start to kind of walk you through this. Remember, Roy Williams played with the Dallas Cowboys. He would grab a player from behind in the collar, and he would just weight down on them and pull them to the ground. It was called the horse collar, right? Horse collar tackle. They had to get it out of the game because a player who's running the ball is very defenseless. And it's a tackle that's not germane to the game. To grab someone by the face mask and pull them to the ground, that's not an organic tackle. To grab them by the back of the shoulder pads in that collar area and yank down on them. Now, if you put your weight on the back of their legs, it creates a situation where you could injure a player permanently. I mean, they could be hurt in a way where they never play again. And so it went from the horse collar to now the hip drop tackle. Defensive players, and I played defense in this league, we're very good at what we do. When we take you down, it's kind of like a cowboy roping, a cattle, an angry animal that's trying to run around. And we're good enough to hop on them and tie them up, get them on the ground, tie them up. That's the talent that we have as humans when we are unafraid, right? And we use technique. So there's no doubt that we can tackle and get a man on the ground. If we can do that to an animal, right? We can do it to a human who's running a football. Now they do get to stiff arm us, but we don't get to stiff arm them. And we're at a disadvantage, but we're good enough to tackle people without weighting ourselves on the back of their legs, because that's almost going to always end in injury. And unfortunately, that's what happened to Cam Scatterbull, one of my favorite rookies, by the way, for the 2025 season. So this one was not good to see. They've already lost Malik Neighbors, and now they lost another top young offensive player off this New York Giants football team.
All right, another one from the Giants-Eagles game. The Jalen Hurts tush-push fumble that somehow wasn't a fumble. Solomon, take me through how that happens. Is this just reason number 1087 that the tush push needs to go? Or is this an officiating mistake that we shouldn't blame on the tush push this time?
Well, you just heard me sort of being a former defensive guy. It tells you how unbiased I am. I try to be very pure to the game. I have played it. I know what's organic to the game, but I also know what isn't. You heard me just saying, okay, we should get that part out of the game. No horse collar tackles, no hip drop tackles. Now, when I say this as a defensive guy against the offense, eliminating the tush push, most people want to disregard it and say, well, you're a defensive player. Of course, you don't want it. No, I'm fair to the game. The only reason why we have the tush push in our game is because we took something that was illegal to our game, inorganic to our game, and we changed the rules that made this offensive play possible. You were never able to aid a player and push him from behind. He had to gain his yards of his own volition. You can't pull a guy into the end zone, and you can't push a guy into the end zone. They changed the rule. They changed the rule. Bill Polian talks about this all the time. And now what's happened is this theory of unintended consequences. They opened up a Pandora's box that they weren't prepared for. Not only can people get hurt on the play, but now you can't even officiate the play because you created a scrum where you can't even see that the guy fumbled because you got players in front of him blocking, but you got people around him pushing him in to the point you can't even see if he has the ball anymore. You're not even paying attention for the linemen who are getting a jump offside. They're moving before the ball is snapped, but they're also huddled in there so tightly, the refs are saying they can't see. So now it's made the play to the point where you can't even officiate it. They're making mistakes, the officials are, every single week on this play. And it's really because the Eagles are taking advantage of the moment. They really are. And I would just say, look, if you can't officiate it, for one, why do we have to create something that was outlawed, make it legal so that it become possible now to run a play that you can't currently officiate. I think that kind of tells you how I feel about it. But I think more and more people, even then in the league office, is beginning to feel the same way.
Do you think it goes after this year, Solomon? Is this it? The last run?
Yeah, I think it will be. Jeffrey Lurie, he filibustered, by the way, at their owners' meeting over the summer. And I think it was Jed York who finally broke in and said, how much are you going to say? How much what are you going to say? Because he even brought in a heavy hitter. Everybody loves Jason Kelce, right? He brought Jason Kelce to lobby for him before he got up there and started with his filibuster. And it barely passed, by the way, but it did. They voted on it and it passed. We'll see if it has shelf life. I think this latest sort of the officiating part of it, I think has made it to the point that the league is starting to understand that they made a big mistake by allowing things to creep into their game that are inorganic. This is a rugby play. It's not a football play. When people say it's a football play, no, it's a rugby play. And rugby and football have some unique differences, okay? And this is a rugby play that we allow to creep into our game. And I think a lot of people who really do understand that a runner, if he's going to gain yards, should do so of his own talent, his own ability, his own volition. And under this rule, we can carry a guy down the field, right? We can pick him up and start carrying him. And I don't think any of us want to see it come to that.
Yeah, amen to everything that you just said. All right, here's one for you, Solomon. The Drake May hype train is barreling down the tracks right now, it seems to me. I'm starting to hear MVP and Drake May in the same sentence, and people mean it. I saw a post somewhere online this morning where they're talking about the Bears made a terrible mistake. They're going to look back and they're going to regret that they got Caleb Williams and they let Drake May, get off the hook there. What do you see at this point? How realistic are the folks that are starting to hype up Drake May? Is it possible that he might be the best quarterback from last year's draft?
I would say at this time last year, nobody was saying that. At the end of the season last year, nobody was saying that. Coming into this season, nobody was saying that. I love these people who wake up and have an epiphany after they see, the ugly duckling become a swan. And they say, I should have asked her to the prom date. But you did it. You did it. Because guess what? That's not who he was at the time you were making your decision. Drake May is playing really well. 7 straight games. He tied a record owned by Pat Mahomes with 7 straight games of 200 yards or more passing, while at the same time having 7 straight games with a passer rating over 100. That's phenomenal. That speaks to his efficiency. His yards per pass attempt are phenomenal because he's pushing the ball down the field. This is not a dink or dunk guy. And just last week he set a new record for completion percentage in a single game at 91%. But he's still pushing the ball down the field. So the talent is real. More importantly, let's give Josh McDaniels some credit, because you don't just get this if you don't coach the player up. So coaching matters here. That's why you didn't get this last year, because the coaching's changed. So now he's able to flourish, right? So let's give Drake May all the credit. He's got a strong arm. He's very accurate. He's athletic. But more importantly, let's give Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniel a lot of credit for how they're bringing him along. They brought in Stephon Diggs to be that anchor for him. And Keyshawn Butte is really exploding. There's a lot of good coaching going on with the Patriots right now. You should start the conversation with Coach of the Year and MVP with the coaching staff, because that's where it's happening. And then that's where players flourish, right? And that's what we're seeing with this football team. Look, they gave up 5 sacks yesterday to Myles Garrett, and they still won the game by double digits. The first time that's happened since sacks became a statistic in 1982. That tells you they overcame some of their deficiencies in playing well. I would really cut it short on the MVP talk, because You're starting to give this trophy to a quarterback every single time. If they just breathe on greatness, they get an MVP award. What Jonathan Taylor is doing right now for the Colts deserves some recognition for MVP. And I think the same should have been said last year for Saquon Barkley. We're overlooking how much running backs do for an NFL offense, and now we're just giving it to a guy who's playing pitch and catch the whole day. So I think we ought to really stop down and start to look at other areas of our game that are also yielding great performances on Sunday.
Yeah, it shouldn't just be a quarterback award.
Right.
I agree with you. I brought you in with a Bengals question. I'll lead you out with the Colorado Buffaloes question. 53-7 loss to Utah. Colorado now 3-5, 1-4 in the Big 12. Coach Prime is 16-17 now at this point in his tenure there at Colorado in year 3. How do you think things are going to this point for Deion Sanders as the head coach in Boulder? And as you kind of look into your crystal ball, what do you think the future holds in terms of his long-term coaching future, and will it be at Colorado?
We hope so. I mean, we really do, because we love Coach Prime, particularly as a person. I know what personal challenges he's going through, and from a physical standpoint, and trying to recruit and trying to develop young men and trying to win games at the same time is not easy. Now, we all know he's held to a standard. You got to win games. That's what it comes down to. But at the University of Colorado, we are not going to turn into an institution that starts paying people $50 to $70 million to not coach. I think it's a travesty. We talk about the state of college football. To me, instead of looking at NIL and paying a young man some money, think about nobody's complaining about paying Brian Kelly all this money to not coach, or paying Ron Franklin all this money to not coach. It's ridiculous. What industry, Ricky, you tell me, is handling its business well when you have a buyout of almost $100 million for a few guys who 1 minute was winning and then the next minute they can't? So now you're just going to give them money to walk away and then go deeper into your pocket to hire somebody to do the same job? There's not one industry that can survive with that kind of financial irresponsibility. And so some of these institutions, we need to start taking a better look at them. They're not institutions of higher learning anymore. They're duplicitous, right? Look, and I'm a capitalist. I'm all about that. But at the end of the day, don't tell me you're here for kids. Don't tell me you're here to help young men. Don't tell me you're here to help young men become, responsible adults, when you're just throwing money away and wasting resources that can go a long way to helping a lot of people. And that's what universities and colleges used to stand for. Now I don't know what they stand for. I really don't.
Solomon Wilcots dropping truth bombs here today
I'm sorry.
on the program. I detect no lies whatsoever in anything that you just said. He is the host of Believe in Bengals. You can find him on the opening drive on Sirius XM NFL Radio, one of the very best analysts in the business. Always a pleasure to have you on. Appreciate your time, Solomon.
You the best, and I'll come on with you anytime, my friend. You take care and enjoy yourself.
You still have tonight's game as your strategy to lay the points. Worked out 1 out of 3 times. Look, the Miami Dolphins.
What the hell was
I wouldn't
that?
touch a Miami Dolphins game with a, 10-foot pole at this point, bro. I don't know what the Dolphins are doing. So I give up the Falcons. I don't understand the Falcons either. Yeah, I don't understand the Falcons. I don't understand the Dolphins. I'll be avoiding both of those teams like the plague the rest of the year. The Bengals should have covered. They were in a great situation there. Their defense is just so fucking terrible. You give up 39 to the Jets.
Are they terrible, or is Justin Fields just a really good quarterback?
Well,
maybe we can restart the Justin.
He had he did have a good he had a good stat line. He had a good stat line. I'm just gonna leave it. Well, he had a good stat line.
Listen, credit Credit where credit is due. The Colts, 14-5, man, that's a lot of points to lay in the NFL, but you were right on that one. And
had a lot to spare,
12
too.
and a half tonight, baby. So good luck. Good luck with that one. You're 16-15 on the season. Let's take a look at mine. I'm done for the week. And look at me, 16-16. So if you win tonight, you'll move in front of me. If you lose tonight, we'll
be tied.
We'll both be the same there. And I just completely shat the bed all around. As I said earlier in the show, I actually laid some money on 8 games this weekend, money line, and I went 1-7. So this 1-3 right here,
NFL is such a week-to-week league, man.
In fact, it is worse.
Such a week-to-week league.
I don't even know, man. I feel like last year I had a better handle on things. This year to me has just been, because usually if you just find 3 or 4 teams that you feel real comfortable,
just
that
ride
you kind
with
of
them.
know who they are, you can ride that, with what we're doing, only picking 4 games a week. I haven't identified the team.
It might be the Colts. I think the Colts might be the team.
Listen, the Colts and these guys right here, man. I mean, look, 6-1, whatever it is here. Are they both 6-1? I think at this point. So
might be 7-1. The Colts might be 7-1.
Or the Buccaneers? How many losses do the Buccaneers have? Am I giving that? They're 6-2. Yeah, they lost another one, but 6-2 in this year's NFL feels pretty dominant. Ron, by the way, before we go, are you aware that today is the sports equinox? That's right, Ron. It usually only happens once a year, and it is today. The sports equinox is upon us. All 4 of the major professional sports in North America in action tonight. We've got Game 3 of the World Series. We've got Monday Night Football. And then we've got NBA and NHL action, as one would expect. For one night only, baby, you're going to get all 4 sports served up to you. So light a joint, pour yourself something refreshing, whatever it is that you do, kick back, flip around, and enjoy the action tonight, my sports fan friends. And we've come to the conclusion of another fine episode of the Ricky Cobb Show. I'd like to give my thanks, of course, to Ronnie T-Shirt, Solomon Wilcots for joining me today, Adam and Molly and Colin in Nashville, P.A. Jarrett, and of course, producer Tim, and most of all, you sweet bastards, because you're the reason that I do this. You're the reason that it's so much fun, and I thank you guys. And please be aware, we are excited to announce the return of the most patriotic award show on television. I speak of the Fox Nation Patriot Awards, back and better than ever, hosted by Sean Hannity, November 6th in New York City at the Tillis Center, airing at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Tickets now on sale at foxnation.com/Patriot Awards. All you got to do is head over there and you could be in attendance on November 6th. Last year was a record-setting show. This year promises to be even bigger with surprise guests, new awards, etc. Get your tickets now. foxnation.com/Patriot Awards. And with that, let's make a deal that we'll meet back again here really soon when we will tee it high and let it fly with another episode of The Ricky Cobb Show.